Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. I'm Abby, and with me is my wonderful co-host Ashley. And this season, we are diving into the Unfinished Tales, a collection of stories, fragments, and background details that expand on the events and the characters of the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, and the Lord of the Rings.
These are the threads Tolkien never fully wove into his larger works. We call them the deleted scenes or the extended editions, but they give us a better understanding of Middle-earth's history and lore.
So, if you've been listening for a while, thank you so much for hanging out and sticking with us. And if you are new, welcome. We are so happy you are here, but we do suggest starting from the beginning of this season at least to get the full picture. But if you want to start at like episode 1, that would be cool too.
Or 0. 0 is like our intro to like us as a people. So you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. But whether you're familiar with these stories or you're just discovering them for the first time, we're going to help you break it down easy, keep things easy to follow along with, and just have so much fun along the way.
So, you ready?
With that being said, let's go!
Whoa! So,
Guess what, Abby?
What?
Guess what?
What?
We have a new patron.
A new patron on our Patreon.
Heck yes, we do. He is an elf friend of the Shire, and his name is Kevin. I can't think of a better name for an elf than Kevin. I'm here for it. I can see it.
I will say, so I play Dungeons and Dragons with my kids, and my 11-year-old, his character is a wizard named Kevin. So it is a magical, mystical name.
It is. And it's also one of our beloved cousins' names, too, who does listen to our podcast occasionally. So
what if it's Kevin?
Fans of Kevin. What if it is Kevin? No. Unless he lied about his name. But so we are fans of all Kevin. So welcome, Kevin. We are so happy that you joined our fellowship. And
what's a cool elvish way we could say Kevin? What's a cool elvish way we could say Kevin? He's an elf friend.
Okay. Tolkien has the weirdest, like, it's not Maedhros, it's Mithros. Or, you know, you can't say Derek from the band, it's Dayron. So I say like Kevin.
Kelvin.
Kevin. Ooh, I like Kevin.
Or it's some Tolkien way where like the K is like
crazy.
a T.
Yeah.
Wow.
We love you, Tolkien. We love you.
It's not a comic that was like they're in heaven, and then you see, or this guy's like having a vision, and it's J.R.R. Tolkien. He's like, J.R.R. Tolkien, and then all that Tolkien says is it's pronounced Jandalf, and then he like goes away.
No.
And the guy's like, no.
It's like the whole Genghis Khan thing all over again. You know that?
Or the GIF. Come on, guys.
Yep.
Okay, Kevin.
It's like Tolkien and Tolkien too. We're just gonna say Tolkien just because we're ignorant Americans, but we understand that it's Tolkien, but it's just too far engraved into our brains, so we can't.
Oh, Kevin, it is a tradition that when we get a new Patreon subscriber, they get, what do they get, Ashley?
An amazing, well thought out, not at all last minute or made up by the robots, heartfelt,
super rehearsed, very very rehearsed. We practiced this for a while, not just 2 minutes ago.
But you get a song sung to you. Yay! What other podcast does that?
Oh, because they're smart. They're smart. They know not to do this themselves.
But you know what? Maybe that's why he did it. He's like, you know what? I would really need. I'm struggling. I'm having a rough go. Maybe a song sung by the Sisters of the Shire will raise my spirits.
We cannot claim that we have the voices of elves. I would think more,
especially of freaking Gil Galad in The Rings of Power. Oh my gosh,
gorgeous!
It gave me the chills.
Gorgeous.
Chills. Yeah, that's not going to be us. Maybe a hill troll is more appropriate.
Hey! I was thinking dwarf. Okay.
Okay.
Give
Well,
them some
you're gonna
credit.
you want to put yourself on the same level as Disa? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think
Oh
we're quite
no.
there. Yeah.
It reminds me of the fat lady in the fat lady portrait in Harry Potter when she breaks
Yeah.
the thing.
Look what I did just the sound of
Oh, just my voice.
okay. Let's not put this off any longer. We're both
I know.
stalling and procrastinating. What else can we talk about? No, just kidding. Okay.
Hey Kevin. Hey Kevin. Kevin. Please don't leave us after you hear this. Hey Kevin.
Unsubscribe
Yeah.
and
Oh no. What have I
Patreon.
done? I've made a mistake. Kevin, this is for you because we love you and we want you to stay. So please don't take this as a, oh no, I have to leave now thing, okay?
We only do it when
Okay.
you join or when you upgrade, for the record. So,
Yes. Yes.
okay.
Oh
I
no.
shall start. I shall start. The road goes ever on and on from the Shire where dreams are spun. Kevin, now you've joined the quest. Our journey's brighter, we are blessed.
Yeah.
Dan and Tom have long been here. Their friendship strong, their voices clear. But now with you, our circle grows, and together the adventure flows. Sing it,
Woo!
Abby.
Woo!
Second verse.
Through forest deep and hills so high, we'll share our tales beneath the sky. With Kevin's help, we'll travel far and spread our joy like shining stars. I don't have the tune in my head like Ashley does. Dan and Tom have paved the way, but now you'll join the song we play, a fellowship so strong and true. The sisters of the Shire are with
You.
you. So it's the finger in the ear.
Yep. And I don't know if you're applauding. I can't quite hear the applause. If so, it's not quite loud enough. But we don't hear anyone leaving, so that's not allowed.
Okay, sidebar. My husband has never seen The Wedding Singer, so I made him watch it with me last night. And I know. So I made him watch it with me last night, and I totally forgot about the scene where the singer George is trying to sing, and he has to sing, and people are booing him, and that one guy
Yeah.
just yells like, like really loud,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
just screams at him. I don't hear any of that for our song just now, so I think we did okay.
I think we did it. We hope that you enjoyed that, Kevin.
I mean,
Well-
we're no Gandalf singing that song, but
No. Or Bilbo.
who do you think has better singing voices? The hobbits or the dwarves?
Not including the Disa singing? That's not included?
No, that's like magic singing. This is just like everyday humming along.
Well, the only times they really sing are, that's the word, like bar songs, drinking songs.
The hobbits?
Even though in the books there's like bath songs. Do you remember those?
And the hobbits are you talking about?
I think it's either in The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. They literally have like bath songs.
I mean, who doesn't sing in the shower? Am I right?
So I do love a good baritone. So I'm gonna say the dwarves. I don't see many hobbits having that baritone.
True. So we're reading The Hobbit right now, and Andy Serkis sings in the book, like the narration, he sings the songs.
Heck yes.
And he has a good baritone voice, but oh man, those songs, do they have like 11 verses?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And I'm like,
Yep.
This is taking forever.
Yeah. Which is why, okay, I feel like, I don't know if this is a fact, but when the Lord of the Rings movies were made, very little singing, right? I mean, we have like one or two tavern songs. You got
Aragorn sings a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. But like very little singing, despite the fact that there is a ton of singing. Hobbit, more singing in the books, but also in the movies, because they're like I could hear the people being like, but Tolkien had all these songs, you can't waste them. And so they put them
Yes.
in The Hobbit. They're like, we heard you, we're putting them in, here you go.
Here are your little songs. But seriously,
My favorite is the Goblin one.
if you've never read The Hobbit, but you've just watched the Hobbit books, the like do 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 that song. There's like
Yes.
10 verses to that song, and they're all in
Yep.
the book, and it's just like, I get it. I mean, it's like a story song, and you understand it, but you're like, okay. It's like when a child
Well,
sings to you, and you're like, okay. Like that's
mhm.
it. Okay. Like that's a lot. You just keep
Yeah.
saying the same words over and over. It's all good.
I don't know why, but Lizzie keeps doing this thing when we're around Nate's dad. She's like, I can count to 100. Do you want to hear it? And then she'll just go. Like every single time she sees him. And like Nate's dad just like, uh-huh. Oh, yeah. You remembered all the, uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. 47, that's a good number. Oh, you keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's like a little
Yeah.
kid, such a little kid thing to do. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
let's get to talking about
let's get back.
these people.
These people. Well, what do you remember of not last week, because last week we did Rings of Power, but the week before and what our buddy Turin was up to? It's kind of hard to remember because we're getting, like I'm calling them, the napkin thoughts, the napkin notes. So it's not really cohesive as much as other stories are. But do you remember anything?
So what I remember, and I'm trying to remember the specific details, but wasn't it like somebody accidentally leaked the location of where they were, or somehow, or in the cave, someone
It was
like,
not accidental.
oh, who
Meme
leaked
and
it
his
again?
son were caught while foraging by the orcs, and they
Oh, and he like try to make a deal, and he's meme tried to make a deal, and he's like, you could have this, just don't hurt Turin. I like Turin. He's a good guy, but
yeah.
those other guys, you could do whatever. And
Mhm,
so all I remember from that is that Meme kind of sold them out because he was a little
mhm,
bummed at everybody. And they had a big fight, a big battle, and um, Androg and Turin found another way out of the cave that was like
mhm.
secret tunnels, secret
Yep.
stairs.
Mhm,
And Androg at the last minute was like, I'll save you. And he actually did a good thing. But
mhm.
then there was a lot of other people died in that battle, right? A
Yes.
lot of other the what are they called? Wild men or whatever.
Outlaws. Wolfmen.
Outlaws. Wolfmen, that's it.
Yeah.
Um and then like I can't remember, was Beleg there? Like was
Yep.
he? Yeah.
He
And
gets really wounded.
yeah, I was going to say he's not dead, but he like gets hurt pretty bad.
Mhm.
Um Oh, okay. Can I tell you something? It's kind of along these same lines, but I've never thought about this before. And then I was listening to a interview with Orlando Bloom about making the making of Lord of the Rings. And he was
Of
talking
course.
about it. And he was talking about it, and I was thinking about it this way too. That the scene where his direction was it's the scene where Gandalf quote quote dies, and they're all like mourning and stuff like that, and he's talking about how he doesn't that's why he looks so strained in the movie, because he's talking about how he said when he was thinking about it, Legolas has never seen death before, and he's like never
Oh.
uh he doesn't understand how that affects people, and so that's why he's like looking around. That's why he looks confused, like in the in
That's an
the movie.
amazing concept, yeah.
I know, it was a really good interview because I was like, I've never thought of that before. Like, elves, some of them don't know, like, they don't get it. There are some
But
elves that
in moment,
understand death.
right?
Yes, but he wasn't there. Like, he wasn't like
Oh,
he didn't see it happen. He didn't see the fighting part. And now he sees the battle for a death and then like the mourning, immediate mourning of this happening and he's like, "Wait, what?" Like this is what this is? Like I oh no. And so when I think about like Beleg and stuff like that, which I don't know how much death he's seen, I can't remember. But like, do you think it's when he gets mortally wounded, he's like, huh? He's like, wait a minute, huh? Wait, this isn't supposed to happen. Like, it's like the
yeah.
scene in Men in Tights. Was like, let me see the script. What? I lose.
I haven't watched that movie forever. I was thinking about showing that to Lizzie, and I'm like, "Is it too early? How many
It is a
sexual
little, yeah, it's a
innuendos?"
little early.
Yeah, will go over her head. How many will she ask me questions on later?
Yeah.
It's borderline. Um, okay, but, and I just wanna clarify because I kept thinking, like, well, he's seen death because, like, obviously he kills orcs and goblins and things like that, but for, like, on his own side or his own person he
Someone he
loves. Yeah.
cares about, someone he
Yeah.
like, yeah, because
Yeah.
like killing orcs to them is like pest
Yeah.
control or something. You know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
like
Like,
ant smushing.
yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I just
Well,
thought about that and was like,
yeah,
I watched that interview and I'm like, huh, I never really thought about it like that before. And it puts so much more depth into it, you know?
yeah, mhm. Makes the other, elf massacres seem even more profound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Well, back to Turin. So, everyone basically dies, Beleg except for Beleg and Turin, and then Meme comes back after the fact, after everything's over, and he's like, "Oh, that Beleg that I hate still alive? Let's finish this. I'm gonna kill him with the creepy sword." And
Oh
Beleg's
yeah.
like, "I don't think so, sir," and takes the sword away from him. Meme runs away terrified because obviously he's in the wrong in that moment. And Beleg's like, something about uh, like the curse of or like the oh no, the House of Hadar will get its revenge or something like that. Um,
Mm.
and then yeah, Turin was taken away in a sack, which always makes me laugh. And the reason that they were found out, other than Meme, is that the constant poking at Morgoth and fighting against Morgoth made them a target. And
Mm-hmm.
the well-known tale of Turin and his outlaws, and in the Unfinished Tales, his army that he gathers, and that fact that like, oh yeah, his headquarters, yeah, it's right up there. Like it's not a secret of where he has his headquarters. They're just hard to get to, and secret paths and stuff. So
Mm.
the orcs knew exactly where to look. They just needed the opportunity, and unfortunately, Meme gave them that.
Meme.
I,
It's such a complicated, morally like gray
I
area
know.
of like, but he was also betrayed and he was also hurt and he was also
Mm. Two
did
wrongs don't make a right, Abby.
I know. I know. I'm not saying what he did was a good thing. I'm just saying it's hard when like he wasn't, had the most happy life either.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so with Beleg alive, wounded but alive, you may be excited to hear the possibilities of alternate versions of Beleg's rescue of Turin. Maybe even a new version that doesn't involve the sad story of what's going to happen to Beleg.
He
Because I'm
deserved
sure if you
better.
remember
He
what
deserved to
happened
have a
to Beleg,
long life
he did.
and be a hero.
He'll always be a hero to us.
True.
But
Too young.
unfortunately, there's
Too
not
young.
6,000 years old is not long enough. I don't know how old he was, but
He was just a baby. He was
so
a
if you were hoping
boy.
for a different outcome, maybe like I talk with Lizzie about alternate versions of books. Like, have you ever seen that thing where they cover up Hedwig dying in Harry Potter and then Hedwig flew away and like lived a happy life? Like someone actually like wrote over the words in the Harry Potter book. Uh, we like to come up with different endings for characters. Like I have an amazing one about Dobby I'll tell you later that I like really want to make into like some kind of fan fiction or something. But I wish that was this for Beleg. Like, and actually Beleg will like managed to save Turin, and then he went on to build a foster home. He built an orphanage for other, men,
Sad
children of
mortal.
men, sad boys.
The
Uh,
sad boy home.
the
The
sad
home
boy
for
home.
sad. Beleg's home for sad boys.
I actually really love this alternate version, and I just called that on the spot. I love this. Well, that doesn't happen in the Unfinished Tales. From the point of the story, from Turin's capture in the sack to Beleg being wounded on Amon Ruth, to Turin's time spent in Nargothrond, which is like way down the road, we get one of those classic Christopher notes, like just see the Silmarillion for that part, as quote, there is nothing to add.
It's already perfect in the Silmarillion, so why change it?
Right. So, for continuity reasons and to help remember the story in case you forgot, I will give a quick summary of those events, even though it's going to break our hearts. And I hate reliving this part, but we got to do it. So, after the attack on Amon Ruth, Beleg was left sorely wounded. But Beleg, being not only an elf, but also a bade, he was able to heal up fairly quickly and start looking for Turin. Beleg was able to track the orcs and followed their trail right through Tar Nufuin, or the forest under Nightshade. I think when we covered this part in the Silmarillion last season, we called it just the creepy forest. And it was while following the orcs through this creepy forest that Beleg came upon a stranger sleeping under a tree. Now, we do get a random footnote about this part, but we actually got it a long time ago, back when we covered Tor's story. Now, if you remember, there were elves in that story that Tor ran into before going through that massive dark tunnel by the ocean, and they had those cool blue lamps.
Yeah,
Does that sound familiar? Okay. Well,
and they
in
didn't
case
let
you
him,
don't remember.
didn't help him.
I know. Well, I'm taking this with me. You'll be fine in the dark.
Running back to say like a warning or something.
Yeah, they're actually on their way to Nargothrond, and we'll actually meet those timelines. Not this episode, but probably next episode.
Okay.
So if you don't remember what these cool blue lamps are, Google a picture because they look awesome, and I would love to see more fan art of this possibility because it's such a cool idea. They're called Feanorian lamps, and that's because they were invented by Feanor. And the reason I bring it up here, and there are different versions of this part of the story where the stranger that Beleg finds in the woods has one of these lamps. So according to the footnote here in the Unfinished Tales, the lamp apparently can be seen in a painting Tolkien himself created. And if you happen to have the book Pictures by J.R.R. Tolkien, published in 1997, the painting is number 37. I don't have that book. It's on my list. But you can see the painting of it. And it is only here in the Unfinished Tales that we get a decent description of these lamps, because these lamps aren't mentioned in the Silmarillion at all. And I was curious. I haven't read The Children of Hurin, but I have it. I looked at this part, I kind of just skimmed through trying to find where we were. It's on our list. The Children of Hurin only mentions that the only reason Beleg saw this stranger in the woods is because he was sleeping next to a lamp, just a generic lamp, whose covering had slipped off. So even in the Children of Hurin, it doesn't say Feanorian lamp or blue lamp or anything cool, just a lamp.
Maybe it was off-brand.
Maybe.
It was
Feanorian lamps.
Generic brand.
Yes. So the description we got earlier, like I said, in Tour Story, was a while ago, and we already mentioned then, but I do want to mention again just because it really sounds so cool. It's, quote, crystals hung in a fine chain net, the crystals being ever shining with an inner blue radiance.
That does sound cool.
Sounds so freaking cool. So anyways, whether the stranger was in the dark, had a random lamp next to him whose covering came off, or he had a cool blue lantern that Beleg couldn't help but see, Beleg saw the stranger in the creepy forest, and upon further inspection saw that it was an elf. So Beleg wakes him up, talks to him a bit, and found out his name was Gwindor, and that he had fought in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, was taken captive, was a slave in Angband, managed to escape, but had gotten lost in this creepy forest.
Where did he find a lamp then, if he was a prisoner?
I don't know. That is, like, did they have the lamps together in the... Because when they were slaves in Angband, they were mining. They were, like, tunnels, and that's how they managed to escape, is they made their own secret tunnels. But yeah, why would Morgoth allow them to keep their lamps? So yeah, we get that's why this is the unfinished tales. He's like, oh wait, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Scratch that idea. But still a cool idea.
Maybe it's his own off-brand version, like I said.
Yeah. So while lost in the creepy forest, Gwindor did happen to see a big company of orcs that happened to have a very tall man with them as prisoner. And I can totally see the conversation kind of like the Emperor's New Groove. Like, and what did that man look like? Was he like really tall, really brooding, really dark, really emo? Looked like he could have a really good pouting session? That's Turin! Like,
Yeah. Looks like his mother didn't really mother him at all.
yeah. So Beleg actually tells him, he's like, that's actually the man I'm coming to rescue. Now, Gwindor's soul has been crushed for so long being a slave in Angband that he's like, that's great for you. I don't think it's a good idea, though, because there's lots of orcs and orcs are scary. And, you know, we're fine right here. We're safe. Let's just stay safe. Let's not take risks. But Beleg's like, you know, he's kind of like my adopted son. We kind of got this whole thing. Like, we're like the helm and the bow. Like, we have like an action, you know, a drama about us. And so I kind of feel like I have to.
We're an action figure.
Everything.
It's like a
and somehow
Hercules. I'm an action figure.
Yeah. And somehow this stirs up Gwindor's heart, and he's like, you know what? That dedication is so inspiring. Let's do it. So they join forces together. They follow the orcs, find their camp, and it's a particularly stormy night. And they use that as cover to rescue Turin. Now, Turin is really weak and out of it, but they manage to rescue him, and they carry him a short ways away from the orcs. Beleg uses his creepy sword, Anglekel, to cut Turin's bindings. And while doing so, he accidentally cuts Turin in the process. Very easy to happen. But also, like, in my head, why are you using a long sword to cut bindings when that's usually like a dagger job, but doesn't go with the story? So
I guess then being like, just hold really still, okay?
Yeah.
I've got this.
So Turin wakes up after, you know, being nicked or whatever, and he's in the dark. It's stormy. All he knows is that, you know, he went to sleep in amongst enemies. He wakes up and there's someone with a sword right on top of him, I imagine. So he freaks out, defends himself, manages to take the sword, and kills him.
No.
R.I.P. Beleg.
I wish like I said, I think I said this when we were reading the Silmarillion. It should have been more epic for him. It should have been him facing off like a Balrog or Morgoth himself or something. You know what I mean? Like some big character.
Yeah.
But no.
So comparing this this moment in the Silmarillion and the Children of Hurin, this is when a flash of lightning comes, and Turin is able to see in that, random flash of light that the stranger that he was trying to kill in the dark and actually did kill was not a stranger, but in fact, Beleg.
Ugh, so sad.
Yes. Is in the
Better. It's weird to say he deserved a better death.
Well,
it's a weird way to phrase it.
But it's true. In the Unfinished Tales, however, somehow during the struggle, Gwindor's Feanorian lamp gets knocked over, and I don't know how, based on the description that we got, it has like some kind of a hood or a cover, but it becomes uncovered, and that is the light that Turin sees that it was Beleg that he killed. So not lightning, but the light, the Feanorian lamp.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So Turin goes
doesn't help Turin's emo-ness also.
No, not at all. He was emotionally unstable already. And yeah. So he goes into a state of shock, grief at what he has just done. And all the while, Gwindor, who saw the whole thing, is just now like terrified of Turin. Because like, he just killed. We came to. Why are you killing him? But yeah. By the morning, Gwindor apparently decides that Turin isn't a threat to him anymore, and he's able to snap Turin out of his comatose state of grief just enough to bury Beleg with his bow. But Gwindor doesn't have a weapon of his own at the moment, so he decides to take Beleg's creepy sword for now. It's only going to lead to good things later. I mean, that creepy sword, we got to have it in the story. If it had just stayed in the dirt with Beleg, things might have been different, but, whatever.
Would it be like a whole Jumanji situation where you can like hear it in the ground and then they're like,
oh my gosh, seriously though, that would be a thing. So after a long and silent journey, because Turin is still in a comatose kind of stunned state, Gwindor leads Turin to a lake called Irvin's Lake in the Silmarillion. But honestly, I think it's a typo because everywhere else it's pronounced Ivrin, and it's spelled Ivrin, or the pools of Ivrin. And I think when we covered this section in the Silmarillion, we called it the happy water because it made Turin happy.
Yeah.
So
his
Turin,
Prozac water.
Yes, that's what you called it, yeah. So Turin takes a drink, has a good cry, is, quote, cured of his madness, sings a ballad for Beleg, the Song of the Great Bow. And then Turin seems like somewhat in control of himself enough that Gwindor's like, you seem ready for a sword now. Please take this creepy weapon. By the way, this sword is really creepy. Do you know how creepy this is? It's really creepy. But here you go.
Why is it so creepy again? Is it like, does it talk? Does it feel menacing?
Menacing is a good word for it. I think in the Silmarillion, it does actually end up talking to Turin. In the Silmarillion, when he gives it to him, let's see. It actually, hold on, I will find it. This is a strange blade, and unlike any that I have seen in Middle-earth, it mourns for Beleg even as you do.
Okay.
But he's like, this sword's got weird vibes. It's like the tear, like just starts like a tear goes down the sword blade.
Yeah. It's a sad sword.
It's a sad sword. So they start actually talking because this is the first time they've actually had a conversation since Beleg died because Turin has just been silent the whole time. So Turin's like, so who are you anyway? And Gwindor's like, well, see, I was in Angband. He's like, Angband? Turin's like, do you know anything about my dad? My dad's supposed to be in Angband. And Gwindor's like, well, I haven't actually seen him, but there are rumors that he still is alive and he still defies Morgoth any chance he gets. But because of that, Morgoth has laid a curse upon him and apparently all of Hurin's kids. To which Turin, hearing this for the very first time and reflecting on his life, I can just see him being like, yeah, that adds up.
That tracks.
And pretty much that's what he says. He says, quote, that I do believe. Then
that makes sense.
That makes sense. So they get to know each other better as they make their way to Nargothrond. They get there, and Gwindor is barely recognized by anyone. I think it even says like he left Nargothrond like a young man, and he came back looking like an old man. Like his hair, like apparently like changed to white. He's probably really skinny and just does not look well like most elves do. But luckily, the king's daughter, Fenduilas, however you want to say it, does remember him because apparently him and Gwindor and Fenduilas had like a little romance before he went off to fight. So he is allowed to enter. She kind of vouches for him. When asked who Turin is, Turin gives himself another nickname to hide his identity. So it's Agarwine. I can do it.
Sure.
Which is bloodstained.
Gross. Turin, gross.
But he's mainly only admitted because he came in with Gwindor. But he does kind of gain his own reputation. He becomes more and more liked, and he actually gains the nickname of Adonithil, or Elfman, because his Doriath upbringing can't be hidden in his talk and his mannerisms. It's just kind of, I feel like you were raised among elves. You got a vibe. So we're going to call you Elfman now.
It sounds
this
like
creepy sword.
Elfman.
The creepy sword gets forged anew, and Turin renames it Girthang, or Iron of Death.
Whoa, metal.
He helps the elves of Nargothrond guard their territories, and he gets another nickname, Mormagil, the Black Sword.
Isn't more mean black? Like more like so, yeah. Evil or more black? Goth. Like
yeah,
some sort of evilness.
Yes. So for some reason, the elves of Nargothrond decide to give him dwarf male. I don't know. Like, they just specifically note that it's dwarf male. So Turin's like, why not lean into this? And, quote, in a grim mood, he found a matching dwarf mask to complete the ensemble, which made his enemies fear him more because the dwarf masks are really creepy looking. It's like supposed to be like intimidating. So then, probably not with a dwarf mask on, Turin gets in a very awkward love triangle between Fenduilas, Gwindor, and himself. There are hints that Fenduilas and Gwindor might have had something before the Battle of the Number Tiers, like I said. And now that he is back, there might still be something, but, Gwindor's not quite the same guy as he was when he left. I'm sure he's not very emotionally stable. He's got some trauma. And
some
plus,
cares.
Yeah. And plus there's this new guy touring around who's like dark and brooding, and like I can save him,
But Daddy, I love him.
Yes. So Gwindor tries to like let Fenduilas down. I don't think it was meant as like a choose me, not him way, but like, Fenduilas, I don't think that's the guy you want to spend your life with. Like, I don't think he's like, choose me instead, but he's like, he's real messed up.
They're both messed up.
Well, yeah. But he's got like a destiny, away from here. And so he does tell Fenduilas Turin's real name. And this pisses Turin off. But the secret gets out, and Orodreth is like, oh, that's who you are, because Orodreth is the king of Nargothrond. And he's like, you know what? I loved your dad, love you. So I'm going to give you a great honor. And, quote, Turin became mighty among the people of Nargothrond. So it was only good things that came out of it.
His secret identity has been revealed.
Yes. So now that everyone knows this is Turin, son of Hurin, he actually does gain more sway with the king and the people of Nargothrond, and he starts instituting some changes in how he thinks they should run things.
Okay.
One of which is, you guys have been like, hiding and being kind of stealthy. Yes, I know that's the elf thing to do, but I really think, just open battle is just, swinging, just being blunt. Just aggressive, I feel like, is the way to go here for you guys. And they built a huge river over the Narog, or sorry, a huge river. They built a huge bridge over the Narog River right up to the doors of Nargothrond. So their once kind of like secret fortress of Nargothrond is now like blatantly obvious.
They have little signs. It's like 10 miles this way over the bridge.
Yeah.
Like it says.
Yeah.
Really obvious.
Yes. So both Turin ideas very against what they had done since the beginning. Now, in the Silmarillion, it states that Gwindor constantly spoke out against Turin's ideas, but he was ignored and, quote, poor Gwindor, fell into dishonor, and none heeded him, for his strength was small, and he was no longer forward in arms.
His strength was small? That's so
Yes.
sad. What a sad way to put it.
I know. And that's all we get in the Silmarillion as to Gwindor's opposition to Turin's counsels. But luckily, in the Unfinished Tales, we get more, and it actually makes Gwindor sound less pathetic, which is, I think, a good sign.
All right.
So, because Gwindor has spent so much time in Angband, like probably years, maybe centuries, the timelines aren't exactly like one-to-one here, but he has been around Morgoth. He does know how the enemy works as like from that perspective. So he brings that up and he says, quote, petty victories will prove profitless at the last, for thus Morgoth learns where the boldest of his enemies are to be found and gathers strength great enough to destroy them. All the might of the elves and the Edain united sufficed only to contain him and to gain the peace of a siege. Long indeed, but only so long as Morgoth bided his time before he broke the leaguer, or the siege, and never again can such a union be made. In secrecy only lies now any hope until the Valar come. So he's saying, like, you are having victories. That's fine, but in the grand scheme of things, like it just happened with Turin, it just makes you more of a target and easier to snuff out. The only time that we actually had Morgoth on the run was like when we just first came over here to Middle Earth, and we were only to keep him contained in Angband with the siege, and then that eventually broke, and then people died. So I think the best move here is to lay low until the Valar come. Like, that's his strategy.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense. But I see on the other hand, though, like just waiting and hiding while others, like the men of Dorloman, like Turin growing up, suffer under the rule of Easterlings, like just like telling someone who grew up that way, like, you know what? Can you just hold on? Can you just like wait like a few more decades? I'm sure the Valar are coming any minute. Like it's going to be fine. Don't mind the whips and the lack of food. And
especially to a mortal.
Yes. And so Turin, his response is a little long. I'm going to break it up a bit, but he starts off not attacking the like waiting aspect. That's what I would be pissed off about if I was Turin. But he's more pissed off about the Valar. He says, quote, the Valar, they have forsaken you, and they hold men in scorn. What use to look westward across the endless sea? There is but one Valar, with whom we have to do, and that is Morgoth. And if in the end we cannot overcome him, at the least we can hurt him and hinder him.
So I get his point because he hasn't seen any help, from the Valar in his lifetime.
Right.
And to him, they could just be like stories, like fantasies, like some storybook hero that he's like, that's not real. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to help us. And
that's literally the notes that I have here is that, it's one thing for an elf to talk about the Valar who has been to Valinor. Ordreth has been to Valinor. Finrod, the OGs that went to Valinor know the power of the Valar versus the elves who have never been to Valinor, or the men that only hear of the Valar and are rarely get help from the Valar. I think tours.
And they had like a crummy life to begin with.
Yeah. So I totally would get that the elves who have never been to Valinor are hearing it as like a myth or a legend, but it's almost still true to them. Kind of like how Greek gods, like, oh, we have to pray to, Athena, but Athena was a very real person to them. Versus the men hearing of the Valar, it's literally like a fairy tale. Like it's like it's very much not true. It's a story that you tell a child.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get his point. If only he could have talked to Tor, and Tor is like could be like the spokesman of the men for the Valar. Like, no, the Valar are great. They gave me, they led me through this thing. He freaking gave me armor. Like, he talked to me through like the water. He sent me eagle buddies. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll never meet. So that's sad. So the Valar really aren't helping the men at this point. So Turin is 100% like the Valar are a fairy tale. And he continues saying, quote, "For victory is victory, however small, nor is its worth only in what follows from it. But it is expedient also, for if you do nothing to halt him, all Beleriand will fall beneath his shadow before many years are past. And then, one by one, he will smoke you out of your earths. And what then? A pitiable remnant will fly south and west to cower on the shores of the sea, caught between Morgoth and Ose? Better than to win a time of glory, though it be short-lived, for the end will be no worse."
I like the line, "No, victory's a victory, no matter how small."
I was like, it sounds like Horton Hears a Who. Person's a person, no matter how small. Yeah, I mean, these are all excellent points. I'm surprised he knows who Ose is, but sure, yeah. So continuing, quote, "You speak of secrecy and say that therein lies the only hope. But could you ambush and waylay every scout and spy of Morgoth to the last and least, so that none come ever back with tidings to Angband? Yet from that he would learn that you lived, and guess where." So, like, unless you have a freaking Maiar wife that can make a wall of secrecy around you, like Doriath has the girdle of Melian, Morgoth is going to find us. Especially since I just suggested we build that huge bridge that completely exposes our once secret entrance. So that's not going to work.
It's got like lights on it.
Yeah.
And like, sorry, I have a little Oakley joining us right now. So if you hear a little voice, there's a little Oakley on.
Okay. Well, Turin continues and he says, quote, "And this also I say, though mortal men have little life beside the span of the elves, they would rather spend it in battle than fly or submit. The defiance of Hurin Thalion is a great deed, and though Morgoth slay the doer, he cannot make the deed not to have been. Even the lords of the West will honor it, and is it not written into the history of Arda, which neither Morgoth nor Manwë can unwrite?" He's proud of his daddy.
Yeah, I think, like, yes, his parents were not there a lot.
Yeah.
But it's a good son that he's still proud.
Yes. Okay, so then Gwindor now gets a response, and he says, quote, "You speak of high things, and it is plain that you have lived among the Eldar. But a darkness is on you if you set Morgoth and Manwë together, or speak of the Valar as the foes of elves or men. For the Valar scorn nothing, and least of all the children of Iluvatar." Like, yeah, they totally love everyone equally. There aren't any favorites like the firstborn. You guys are totally just as good as that. They love us just the same.
Even though they wanted us to come first and you guys to come a little later.
And you guys not to live as long, and you guys to not be as strong as us,
And not
and
as pretty as us.
you weren't invited to Valinor, and
But they still love you. It's
yes.
okay. They're not playing favorites at all. It's, you know.
Yeah. He continues, quote, "Nor do you know all the hopes of the Eldar. It is a prophecy among us that one day a messenger from Middle-earth will come through the shadows to Valinor, and Manwë will hear and Mandos relent." I was like, wait, elves have prophecies now? I didn't know that was a thing.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Right? And I don't think they had it in the Silmarillion either. So, unfinished tale little nugget, I guess.
I guess.
All right. Still continuing. Quote, "For that time shall we not attempt to preserve the seed of the Noldor and of the Edain also? And Círdan dwells now in the south, and there is building of ships. But what know you of ships or of the sea? You think of yourself and of your own glory, and bid us each do likewise. But we must think of others beside ourselves, for not all can fight and fall, and those we must keep from war and ruin while we can." So he's got a good point. Yeah, like let's preserve
grandmas out there.
Let's
You
not
gotta save all those grandmas.
let's not make us an
Kids.
endangered species fighting these little wars. Let's, build up the population a little. And then I think he's thinking of the grandmas. I think he's also mainly got Findulis on his mind with that comment. It's I like how he mentions that Círdan's like, we're building ships, like things are in motion. It's just they can't understand each other's perspectives of time, I think is the main problem.
Yeah. Well, they'll be done in a few centuries. I won't be here.
Yeah, exactly.
I will not be here for that.
Yeah. So Turin responds, quote, "Then send them to your ships while there is yet time." So he's like thinking like, oh, we need to get going now then. Like send the women and children to the ships. Like this is something that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, is it that urgent? But so Gwindor then responds, quote, "They will not be parted from us. Even could Círdan sustain them. We must abide together as long as we may and not court death."
Ooh. Court death.
I liked that too. And it's an excellent point. Like, these women and children are still sisters, mothers, daughters. So they're not going to want to be away from their families. So keeping them together makes sense. Let's not send them away until we really have to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Turin responds, quote, "All this I have answered. Valiant defense of the borders and hard blows ere the enemy gathers. In that course lies the best hope of your long abiding together. And do those that you speak of love, such skulkers in the woods, sorry, that's a hard word to say, in the woods, hunting always like a wolf, better than one who puts on his helm and figured shield and drives away the foe. Be they far greater than all his host? At least the women of the Edain do not. They did not hold back the men from the Nerneath Arnodiad." It's the Battle of the Number Tiers.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, like, we need to be strong. We need to hit the enemy hard. We need to be assertive. We need to be aggressive. That's the best way of everyone staying alive and staying together, which kind of counterproductive. And we need to be on the defensive. We need to put on our shields and our helms and drive away this foe. And let's not hold each other back. The women, my mom didn't hold back my dad from going off to war. He knew that was his role, So then Gwindor responds, quote, "But they suffered greater woe than if that field had not been fought."
What do you think that means? Like,
so
what?
I do think it's rather ballsy of Turin to even mention the Battle of Unnumbered Tears to Gwindor. I think that's pretty ballsy.
It's like, were you there? Because I was there.
Yes. So the repercussions of the Battle of Unnumbered Tears were a whole lot worse than if they had not fought. That they suffered greater woe than if that field had not been fought. It wasn't it didn't result in good things happening. If anything, it got worse for a lot of people.
I mean,
especially for Gwindor.
I get it.
And that's actually the end of the conversation. And that's actually where I'm going to leave you today.
Dropping some mic drops from Gwindor for us.
Yes. But I liked this little peek into the politics at Nargothrond and the difference of opinion and the difference of, I mean, their backgrounds couldn't be more different for Gwindor and Turin. And I think their motivations are also very different as well.
Yeah.
So this was kind of interesting to hear played out. So I liked it. I hope you liked it too.
It's good to hear all the sides,
Yeah.
Not just one, and then you form your opinion on just one side, but it's also like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it makes you sad knowing more about it because you're like, great, now I'm conflicted. Even more.
Yeah.
Dang it, I was blissfully unaware of all the other things that were happening, and then I'm like, oh man.
What is that movie? Like, great, now I have guilt.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
I don't know what movie that was. But what's interesting is that Orodreth, and we don't know a ton about Orodreth, and maybe we will next week, but in his kingdom of Nargothrond, that even this conversation could take place. This conversation would not have taken place in Doriath. Like, Fingal would have been like, my way or the highway, people.
Yeah, that's how he is.
That's how he is.
And then
or just like, let's hear your side. What do you think over there?
Then my way or the highway, and then he flicks on some sunglasses. That's what I want to see.
Pretty much. So, yeah.
Sorry. I have a little boy hanging out with me today. So if you hear him, say hello, Oakley.
We have a Spider-Man sunglasses.
You have Spider-Man sunglasses.
Heck yeah. I think Fingal would definitely dig those.
Super relevant to what we're talking about.
He's listening.
Maybe Papa give me my Spider-Man sunglasses.
Is that Grandpa?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, don't forget to...
Papa.
Sorry.
Yeah, Papa.
Yeah, Papa. Sorry. I apologize. Take it back. Well, Oakley, did you know that your mommy and I have an Instagram where other people can look at the fun memes that we make and the fun, beautiful artwork that I find? And I even last week was editing while making memes. And so every amazing idea that you had during our podcast, I was like, oh, and I can make a meme of that. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, you were fueling and giving me all of the inspiration. So we totally work on it together. Cool. Yeah. So that's at Instagram at the Sisters of the Shire Podcast.
Yeah.
And then we want to say a big thank you. Oakley, can you say thank you?
Thank you.
To Dan, Tom, and Kevin. Thank you, Dan, Tom, and Kevin.
You, Dan. That's it. Oh, he's saying it, whispering to me, like he's mouthing it. Thank you, Dan, Tom, and Kevin.
Because you know what, Oakley?
Oakley is so thankful.
Oh. He just is truly overcome with the gratitude.
He's like, again, he's verklempt.
He's verklempt. He's just choked up. Because you know what? Your support, it means that much to us. And if you would like to support the podcast and become a part of our fellowship, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Sisters of the Shire Podcast. We could sing a fun song to you and maybe have you on the podcast. Maybe give your business a shout out. Maybe you could be a lucky recipient of random giveaways that we have. The fun never stops really here at the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. But you know what? If you can't help us monetarily, we understand. But you know what? You can share us with a friend. You can give us a rating. You can give us a review. You could like an Instagram post. You could share an Instagram post. There's so many things you can do that really help us.
And we're family friendly, so you can share us with anyone.
Huh, Oakley?
Yeah.
So are we nice?
Yeah.
Am I nice?
No.
You like me? No! After I shared hugs and kisses with you?
No.
So offended. Well, I will say in world news, Oakley, did you know that Japan overtook Poland, New Zealand, and Russia? Say, get Japan! Say, go Japan!
Say, woohoo! He went,
Wow.
No.
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 And that's really all the world news we have today. So,
well, that's still exciting. Good job, Japan. Whoever's listening out there.
yeah.
We're so happy you've joined us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for teaching me today.
You're welcome. Until next week, I've been Ashley.
And I've been Abby, and this has been the Sisters of the Shire podcast, and we're so happy that you have joined us today, and we hope that you can join us next time. Bye!
Bye.
Thank you for teaching me a day.
Yay!